So diagnosing and treating the process a little bit deeper here. The road may include, if you're thinking road, think the environment. It could be a chronic stress thing. So let's go through that. The consequence in chronic stress is going to be your hormones change. You actually have a hormone problem in chronic stress. That, as I mentioned, causes immune shifts as well as brain changes. So when the brain changes, our stress system actually gets worse. Adrenal hormones also cause a barrier compromise. When our intestinal mucosal membranes, the tissues that provide that barrier function, are bathed in cortisol, they're eaten up, basically. Causes joint deterioration. Stress does this. Inflammation, bone turnover, sleep problems, very tied to sleep problems. If you're having any insomnia, I would bet a small amount, maybe a big amount, that sleep problems are due at least partly to changes in your adrenal hormones. Blood sugar problems. When you have changes in your adrenal hormones, you always have problems with blood sugar, because cortisol brings blood sugar back up. So insulin brings it down, cortisol brings it up, eating brings it up, insulin brings it back down, cortisol brings it up. So if you get the idea, they play hand in hand on maintaining blood sugar. Over time, this also creates weight gain, and there's stress on the liver, muscle tightness. So those are all the consequences that can occur as a result of chronic stress and the changes of chronic stress. Now, we all have stress, but not everybody has adrenal hormone changes. So not everybody has it to the level that causes a hormonal consequence. And we can treat a hormonal consequence. We can actually change using specific botanicals and nutrients and methods to switch that back to so we don't have to take you out of your life and put you on a permanent vacation to treat the hormonal shifts of stress. Obviously, that's not an option in most situations, so we have to treat it like a hormonal shift. We also certainly want to look at, how you're dealing with stress and those kind of things. But the immune stressors. So the consequence of an immune stressor: you have a chronic bacterial infection in your intestines, you have an H. pylori in your stomach, you have viral load, you have a sensitivity to dairy products. The consequences of that are changes in your cytokine and immune cell production. Cytokines first. The cytokines signal to your immune cells what to change, and that in itself is a form of stress. Your immune system shifts, and really, if you want to make it simple, repair and regulation changes. So we can go back to liver and blood sugar and bone turnover and sleeping and all those things. The foods we choose could create could be part of the road. Consequences of junk, and as one of my colleagues says, there's no such thing as junk food. There's only food, which are things that help you repair and regulate, and then there's junk. So the consequences of eating junk are insulin resistance. If you spike your blood sugar enough, resulting in an insulin spike, you're going to end up with insulin resistance. That's going to cause stress. It's going to cause immune dysregulation. It's going to cause problems with repair and regulation of your entire system. So that's how consequences create a chain of events that can result in any condition or problem. So let's go through this. Now, we already covered this slide, and I want to show you in detail what this looks like. These are the T helper cells right here. and that's the Th2, Th1 immune chemicals. These are all the cytokines. This is the T helper. This is the T regulatory cells. Now beyond that, we're also going to get the, out here further are the T cells and the B cells. And on this side also are the natural killer cells. So we get all these numbers, and what we want to begin the process with is if we see an imbalanced T cells, B cells, natural killer cells, helper cells to suppressor cells, imbalanced cytokines, we want to begin with working the T regulatory cells. And we do that with a substance in our office called glutathione. Glutathione is an antioxidant protein that's used largely in the liver. It's used to regulate the T regulatory cells. And as I mentioned, vitamin D also does that, and essential fatty acids, particularly the fish oils. Those all work on the T regulatory cell. And in order to pull this shifted system back into some sort of order and balance, we want to put a heavy, heavy emphasis on supporting the T regulatory cells. So that's like step one. Then we find, okay, is it more the Th1 or is it more the Th2, the B cells? So if the B cell side and the cytokines associated with B cell production are elevated, we want to stimulate the other side. And nature provides, and I can provide research on how these plants and botanicals shift your immune system, but basically the stimulants for the Th1 side are astragalus, echinacea, which are things that probably many of you, if you're into natural medicine at all, many of us have used for colds and flus. But with the cold and flu, you only get the benefit if you need stimulation of the Th1 side. So there are infections and things that echinacea doesn't work for. And you don't know that until you try it. Beta-glucan in mushrooms, maitake mushroom, glycyrrhiza from licorice, and lemon balm are all stimulants. So we may make a concoction or use one of the products that has those mixed together so that we can actually actively stimulate the Th1 side. Th2 stimulants, many people will actually say, boy, when I have coffee, I feel like garbage. I feel terrible. And that's because it's a Th2 stimulant. That's an indicator that their Th2 B cell side is actually dominating. And by drinking coffee, they're actually pushing it into a greater imbalance. And other people might say, when I have a cup of coffee, I actually feel pretty good, pretty centered, or pretty calm. Immune imbalance, of course, is stressful. So if you do something that has a little bit of an impact on or toward balancing, it's going to de-stress your body a little bit. The things we use more clinically, I don't usually say, hey, why don't you go drink 3 cups of coffee a day? Because it does have an impact on your stress system also, and could create a different problem. But we might use extracts of green tea, grapeseed, pine bark, white willow bark, lycopene from tomatoes. When that's extracted and put in therapeutic doses, it has a stimulating effect on the Th2 system. Resveratrol, which is popular from red wines, and pycnogenols. These are all plant-based nutrients that shift towards a Th2 direction, so increase your B cells.